Yeah.
And I can share with you. So just you want to give a little introduction to who you are, if you can do a quick kind of introduction.
Okay. Just so I understand, what's this being used for? Is it like research or
research mostly for me? Just the internal for the team, just to kind of like have a sense of who I'm speaking to, and what it is you do, and what kind of insights you have on specific topics around toys and games, mostly for me because that's my focus.
Yeah.
But any other gems that you share, I'll share this video with you, and then obviously you would see the
Great.
has value after the conversation.
Sounds good. So yeah, my name is Weishar. I'm a AR content creator on Snapchat, Instagram, and also kind of like headset related AR. I've been doing augmented reality for about 5 years now, and I've seen a huge progression over the last 5 years. So starting out, with just marker-based AR, 5 years ago, and moving to where we're at now with really sophisticated machine learning and image tracking. Just the technology's progressed drastically. And I think in terms of where things are really going right now, I'm pretty excited with the whole notion of merging digital and physical, and having these phygital experiences. So in the context of toys and games, I think that the technology is getting to the point where soon we'll be able to have 3D object tracking on markers, and really sort of take advantage of attaching a digital experience to a physical object. I think currently, we're not there on platforms like Snapchat and Instagram. We can track 2D images and trigger off of like 2D items, but there's limitations within that. I mean, from a board game standpoint, you can launch AR experiences from cards or from flat 2D objects, but I think it's really going to become special once you have 3D objects that you can trigger these digital experiences from, because it really opens up a huge amount of opportunity with toys and being 3D sculpted kind of objects, and being able to pair experiences of action figures or different types of toys with this whole digital overlay. So I'm really excited about that. And a couple of years ago, I got to work with HoloLens at CES, and we launched an experience off of a BMW car, and it basically was using the tracking on the BMW to launch these experiences. And this was available inside of a headset. But I think that, there's limitations when you do this in a headset, because kids don't have $2,400 headsets. They have their phones or their parents' phones. So I think that, launching an experience from toys and games is a lot more viable once we get 3D object tracking technology. And we're not quite there yet. I think like within an app, it's somewhat possible, but it's still a bit clunky. But yeah, I'm really excited about that technology getting a lot better.
That really is. That's actually amazing feedback. Thank you so much. So my feeling right now, apart from Pokemon Go, is there hasn't been any notable successes within the toy game space as of yet, where people have really kind of. I think what I think the Snapchat filters or kind of overlays with makeup for kids is actually quite popular. So there's quite a lot of value, but even the Lego stuff hasn't really worked. I mean, Mattel, was it Hasbro or Mattel that did some interesting work with HoloLens? They created like a virtual brochure that was in last year's, I think it was Mattel. Mattel did. They were doing digital brochures using the HoloLens.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah. I might have seen it. I think like just the whole notion like of these experiences being possible on headsets is great. But we're not going to really see mass adoption until it's affordable for kids.
Totally. Totally.
So it's exciting to see, you know, Magic Leap. I've worked with Magic Leap and HoloLens, but yeah, it's just not viable for me to put my HoloLens headset on my 8-year-old daughter, because I think even like being a parent, I'm really careful about exposing my kid to Oculus or, you know, HoloLens. Like there's, you know, guidelines for AR and VR headsets, and it, you know, you don't want to put it on an 8-year-old.
Totally. And do you let in terms of your child's phone usage, how would you envision, let's say, a successful AR integrated experience with a physical toy? So something that people, I mean, where's their value? Firstly, where do you think there is real value for that integration, if you have any ideas, and if not, and if so, do you feel that that's something that children should be allowed to interact with or use, and if so, in what capacity, for how long?
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a really great question, because screen time is definitely like a big factor for parents, and just learning how, you know, kids develop, you have to be careful with that. I think like, you know, like when Apple comes out with their glasses, it's still kind of challenging, because it's like, you know, putting this very expensive headset on your kid while they're playing like Critters or whatever. Like that's just doesn't seem like that's going to happen. But I do think the the magic window kind of experience with an iPad is kind of viable. And I used to play like GI Joe and like different with different toys as a kid. Excuse me. Yeah, so I used to set up these scenes, and I think if I saw that through an iPad and I was able to play in front of it and see this amazing like digital overlay interacting with these physical objects, that seems kind of feasible right now. Like I let my daughter use the iPad. I think that it is cool. I think it's going to be even cooler when it's a shared AR experience where you can play with your friend and have different kind of digital overlays and scenes within like the magic window, potentially using an iPad or AR glasses when they become more feasible for kids. And I can totally see like over the next few years, Mattel or whoever having, you know, glasses for kids that, you know, work and they're at a good price point, but that probably won't happen for a while. So I think like right now the iPad definitely presents some good opportunities. But going back to like current tracking capabilities, we really can't track 3D objects very well. You can have, you know, a block and you can have a 2D image on it. Like that's totally doable. But if you get into a sophisticated like robot or, you know, action figure, it's not going to track it yet. So from, you know, the tech that we have now, you could definitely use an iPad. You can have blocks that have 2D images on them that could track and then sort of create a gaming mechanic or experience around that. And that seems viable and could be really cool. But yeah, that's just sort of riffing off the top of my head in terms of current technology and current devices and current adoption.
What do you think of the value of digital brochures, let's say augmented reality brochures for clients? You see that? Do you see any value in something like that at this stage, or is that?
Do you say like the like brochures?
Yeah, like an AR brochure, for example. Do you see value in
I
that?
think it's I think like brochures, you know, like being able to set up like an IKEA, like I think from an instructional standpoint, AR can add value. But I'd like to understand what you mean by brochure and what context that is.
Like a traditional brochure you would open up a traditional like toy brochure and up would pop
Right.
physical, like the 3D examples, visualizations
Yeah.
of that toy, and you can play it. Like Do you see that adding any real value to a consumer? Because that's currently what people are exploring.
I think that like from a narrative standpoint, it could add value. Seeing images pop off of a brochure can help you kind of like set the scene and tell the story for the experience the kids are going to have. I can see that being valuable, but I also think like there's a lot of other opportunities I'd have to think more on, but using a brochure to like bring in narratives, or potentially like, you buy a toy and you have like, sometimes these boxes include backdrops. I think that there's a way of creating like a cool scene off of the brochure that you can have your, experience sort of integrated in. But I would have to think more on that.
Because it's something that, just to give you context, we are a kind of a startup AR company at this point. I mean, we've gone through several iterations, but we've just kind of relaunched as an AR company, AR VR company, with a focus on, we have a software company behind us with 350 people and with 17 years experience, but as a fledgling kind of AR toys and games company, we are trying to understand, and this is why I wanted to connect with the content creators like yourself, the value proposition of something like, I guess, digital brochures, and right now, no one's really cracked the space, the toys and game space. No one's figured out what makes sense, what adds value. And so in the first instance, and I've been in the space for quite some time, my background is animation. So I was a content creator myself, and I used to produce commercials, music videos. So I really understand animation and storytelling. And for me, I'm like, AR, the toys and game space must be an amazing space for AR and VR. But how? Like, maybe the technology is too nascent, as you said. It's really hard to track kind of 3D objects, so we're dealing with flat objects that create value. Just like, the question is, where is there real value today? And Pokemon Go kind of like got everyone very excited about what's possible, but nothing had, but that was very, very specific, and I think it's very hard to emulate that kind of success, because it was they figured out a brand that completely aligned with GPS, location-based tracking, which was obviously it just worked. It worked. And it didn't have to be very good, qualitatively, but it just made sense. Now, all the other experiences I've seen have kind of, and all the companies I've spoken to in the toy space have all kind of said pretty much the same thing, that no one has really kind of figured it out, because no one's understood where the value proposition is in the toys and game space. So therefore, the products have not worked.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is like it's a user experience issue of holding up a device and having fatigue. Whether it's like the best I think you can do is you prop an iPad open and you use it as a magic window, but like it just still feels clunky. Like if you had glasses on and you could track 3D objects and you could have the seamless integration of digital and physical, then I think it becomes a very rich experience. But currently it is nascent in terms of like user experience, because kids don't want to hold their phone up or their parents' phone up, and then the iPad thing could be cool, but still it's not going to be as cool as wearing AR glasses and automatically looking at your toy and like seeing this digital overlay be integrated as this part of the world building and the narrative side of things. But I definitely like respect innovation being done in the space right now, because I think you can use 2D, like 3D objects with 2D markers on those to create some kind of mechanic or meaning behind it, from a narrative standpoint, to like enhance that experience. And that's really kind of something that you could work like in a team where there's like game developers and like storytellers that could definitely come up with something super cool around that. but when you mention brochures, like I don't think I'm picturing the right thing, because it's like I picture like holding up a brochure, pointing my phone at it, or
The toy,
or
the toy popping up out of the brochure type of experience.
yeah, it's like, how do you prop the brochure? Is it like a
On the table.
on the table?
So it's just you point your phone at the brochure on the table and you see the physical, the 2D image, and up pops the 3D visualization,
Yeah,
3D object from that image. Now, I think currently, what do you think that is attractive or appealing for a consumer to play with something like that?
I think like,
Honestly, I mean, it'd be totally
how's the kid get, I guess it's like, I'm just trying to walk through the user experience with like what my 8-year-old would do. I would put down, I'd buy her something, I'd put down the brochure, and she would borrow my phone and then point the device at it, and there'd be an AR experience launched from it. Yeah, like, I don't know. I think that you have to somehow weave in like value, it like, like if you're talking about Pokemon or characters, and the kid could point their device at a brochure and learn about all their like strengths and different powers and all that, like from an avatar standpoint, then it's like, that's cool. But I feel like it has to weave back into the physical play experience, and being able to cross pollinate those two could be really cool. But in terms of just an AR experience off of a brochure without it weaving back into the physical play and giving it meaning, it doesn't feel as like meaningful.
which is where people lose interest, I guess.
Yeah,
And they
totally.
lose your audience, you lose your engagement factor, and then you ultimately potentially lose the client in the process, because they don't understand the value proposition. And if they don't see the value in something, then they don't go back to doing it again, because I guess.
I think like the board game thing is interesting, because if you created like physical pieces that went back to the board game, and let's say you're even doing Monopoly and you're on the square, and then you point your device and you see, that square come to life in a cool way. That's great. But if there was a way to tie that into the game where you unlock something, or you need to see the digital overlay as a clue to answer a question, then it gets really interesting.
Which means to have a clear understanding of the actual game experience, to then integrate something more successfully. So you really have to have a deep knowledge of the actual products that you're creating for, to be able to integrate successful AR into those experiences in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I think it's like, it goes back to like doing it in a meaningful way that's part of the play and interaction while you're playing, to give it meaning. And I think like just being able to unlock clues with a digital overlay is an interesting idea, because it's like, okay, I unlock this, now I can advance to this square, in this like game mechanic, or accomplish some sort of goal with that digital overlay and that information.
So where do you see like the biggest opportunities in enterprise with AR currently today, and where do you see that kind of in the future, if you have any more time left?
1 second. Biggest opportunities right now, I think like it's really great like for engagement and driving to the main experience. So for instance, a movie comes out and I wear, the AR face lens, or I see some sort of world experience, that can drive like you get billions of impressions from this stuff. So you can use that in the marketing side of things. And that's, I think, why brands are doing it right now. But from a product standpoint, people just don't want to hold their phone up yet, like for extended periods of time. So I think it's going to change a lot when AR glasses come out, because you're not going to have that clunky user experience. but I'm really excited about persistent AR and location-based experiences, because being able to go to a specific location around an IP and basically have this amazing digital overlay. I think that that's coming very soon, and there's a lot of opportunities in that area. But yeah, like social AR is explosive in terms of being able to reach, millions and millions of people. That's, I think, like how it's being used right now. Then you have the whole enterprise side of things and using things in like different sectors, but they're mostly using like headset based AR in industrial applications versus like handheld mobile AR.
So you think
digital fashion though is quickly coming on the rise, and being able to look at your friend through a device, and your friend has their own avatar and personality that's attached to them, is definitely coming very quickly. And as we move into wearables, everybody's going to have their own digital persona, and I think that that's like going to be crazy. It's not too far away.
The fashion stuff is really exciting right now, actually, and it's really taken off. I've seen some really good examples.
3D body tracking, yeah.
This really everyone's sharing. There's a couple of guys that are doing some really amazing work with that.
Totally. Yeah, it's really cool.
That's maybe the most exciting stuff I've seen currently. I actually shared something recently. So,
is it?
Who are you thinking of?
Oh, that jacket. There was like this one.
It's Benoit Pagotto. He's for his company, Benoit Pagotto. The company is. Can
you send me a link to that? I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I should. Let's see if let me see if
I
can find it.
Lens Studio 3.4 just came out with like full body tracking, so there's so much cool stuff around that.
And then T Studios in England. So they're just doing such cool stuff with fashion. And actually sold some like a digital trainer on NTF.
Yep. And yeah, blockchain is definitely gonna be like pretty awesome with like AR fashion.
So blockchain and AR fashion is going to be mega, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because people are going to be buying the AR fashion items, and there's going to be a whole kind of movement of AR kind of. That's huge, and people are going to invest in that to be the first. Like that's going to be huge.
Yeah, digital wearables is big, and like even Decentraland, toy brands should get into Decentraland, so that they have their kind of like IP in that, those type of platforms.
Digital wearables, huh? Fuck. Yeah. Yeah, super interesting. I think that's one of the most exciting spaces.
But it is the space is accelerating, I think, and we're going to probably see the 3D object tracking happening this year.
They're doing it with body tracking for fashion overlays. Why can they do that so successfully with body tracking? They're not so successful.
Body tracking is using like points, so similar to the VFX workflow of like joints, and then you're able to track 3D to those joints. So it's positional data, where you need to have like structural surface data for 3D tracking on toys, and it's being developed but not out yet.
Okay. I'm sure listen, I thank you so much for your time, Clay. Do you have any questions before maybe you mentioned you had to jump?
Stay in touch. I'd love to see how the product you're creating is developing, and yeah, it's exciting stuff for sure.
Well, listen, if you have any more questions or any thoughts, you want to jump on a call sometime soon, we can do that.
All right, take care.
Nice one. I'll speak to you soon. All the best. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it, Clay. Really great.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.